You click, the title appears, the score goes up, and it still feels bad. That was my game. And one small change fixed how most of that felt, and I'll hand it to you before I explain anything. It only covers a part of the problem, and the third one I got the most wrong because I didn't think it was applying to my game. But the thing is, your game doesn't feel empty because it's short on content. It feels empty because the thing the player does over and over and over again isn't telling them anything. Players notice that, but they can't explain it. Nobody will tell you that the state change feels weird after the input is unclear. They will say things like, oh yeah, it feels empty or floaty or weird, or in the worst case, they will even stop playing. So the first thing I want you to do is find the sound your main action plays and check whether it starts on the input or slightly after. If it's late, you should move it to the frame of the press. That is the easy one. The two other ones I got wrong for so much longer. That did more for my game's feel than anything I built around it. It works because your action has to tell the player three things. And one of them felt so bad that people thought I made the wrong game or that it was broken. So the three things I want you to keep in mind and remember are response, state change, and failure. So did I hear you? Did anything change? And when it goes wrong, why? That's the whole list I want you to remember, and knowing the list is the easy part, but knowing which of the three your game is missing is the real problem, and I got that wrong with my own game. So two of them I fixed right away. The third one didn't apply at all because the game can't be lost. But I was wrong about that, and that's the one I bet you're missing too. So you got the framework and the one fix already, and what made the first one hard is that the obvious fix for it makes things worse. The problem I had here was response, and I broke it by trying to make the game feel calmer. So I'm working on Gnominator, it's a cozy tile placement forest type game. So I reasoned a calm game needs to fade and ease everything in, and that made the tile fade in gently as well. So after the click, I thought that was wait. But the problem is players didn't read it as that. They didn't think it was relaxing. They read it as the click not registering. And the fix wasn't making it faster. That was the first attempt at solving this, and it just made the same problem arrive even sooner. So not everything needs to be instant. A heavy character needs to have some acceleration, a big weapon needs some time to swing. Those are all things you need to have. But wait and delay are different, even though they kinda look the same, especially in code. And it's easier to build the second when you think you're building the wait. So keep this in mind. Wait means that the game acknowledges you on the press, even if the action takes another half second. But delay means that the game ignores you for a moment and then everything lands at once, and that's a problem. That's what fooled me on the next one as well, because after the game was instant, it still felt really bad. The fix was the front of the action, not the back part. So the ghost preview that snaps to the cell, the tile drops that settle instead of fading. This is why Mario feels good even when you're running in an empty level. And then I spent a long stretch tuning the wrong thing. Reacting isn't the same as changing, which I realized way too late. Your game can acknowledge the input on the exact frame and still leave the world feeling exactly as it was before. So I would answer that with a number, points for a placement, and a number going up doesn't change how the action feels. That's the problem. I kept tuning the tile and threw both of the fixes at it, but when I came back, neither of them helped. What worked was everything around it. The placement ticks a quest and moves forward, gnomes walk into the village, it opens up cells, etc. Your previous move should change the one after it. Otherwise, the player can't build anything, just complete inputs and sit there next to each other and pile them up. That leaves the one thing I said I got wrong, and the reason I ignored it for so long was that my game can't be lost. No timers or game over on purpose, so I assumed failure wasn't the problem I was facing. But when I watched people play, they stalled. At some point, new gnomes just stopped showing up, and that's a big failure. So I thought, oh yeah, I should build more housing as the developer. But players didn't think that. They thought the game was broken. By then I tried both of the fixes everyone reaches for. Rewards built onto the action and more juice, and neither of them touched this. Both just amplified whatever already is there. But the thing that was there was nothing. So now there is a small bubble at the center of the village telling you what is missing, like homes. The failure still stays soft, so the game doesn't feel punishing, but the reason for it is visible to the player, which makes it enjoyable and predictable. Celeste does this probably better than any game. You die constantly, but you always know why. Instead of knowing the failure in the game, the player just thinks it's inconsistent because every failure looks the same. But neither of those fixes told me which of the three was missing though. Only one thing did, and I put it off really long because I assumed I already knew the answer. And to avoid that, you take everything else away. For me, that's an empty grid and 2 tile types. Then I asked whether that tile type next to a forest, for example, is already quietly satisfying with nothing else on the screen. That's the way problems can become obvious really fast. Then the next thing you should do is put it in front of somebody, and this time don't ask if it's fun. They will obviously say yes because they don't want to insult you. Instead, you should ask, what are you trying to do in that moment? If they tell you, for example, in my game, they were finishing the mushroom quest, but couldn't tell which tiles were counted towards it, you know exactly where the communication failed. I did that to my own game as well, and the answer wasn't the one I wanted. The core action was good and it felt fun, but because stripping it down showed me exactly which of the 3 I'm short on, it told me something important. A game doesn't feel important because a lot happens when you press a button. It feels good because the right things happen at the right time and the player understands why. I'm working on the Gnominator Steam page right now. I'm trying to make one click and one tile feel good before I let myself do anything else, and you should do that too. And if this helps you, join the Discord down below, subscribe, and with that, I hope I'll see you in the next one.